Welcome back. So in this lectures we are going to discuss the root locus method in discrete domains. How we are going to apply the root locus method in discrete transfer function or discrete open loop system or any discrete domain system to analyze its stability. So in previous lectures we already discussed the design of deadbeat or minimal prototype controllers. So and also discuss the closed loop stability, and it is related to the with continuous control stability, and also discuss examples. All these are the in discrete domains. So now come to the current lecture objectives. In this lecture objective we are going to discuss the root locus method in discrete domain and what are the constructional rules. It is similar to the conventional rules which is already discussed or already in control systems, and then we have to consider few examples and also see the effect of the time characteristics and its stability. So here the effect of system gain or its sampling period on the absolute uh, relative stability of the closed loop system should be investigated in the addition to the transient response characteristics. So root locus method is very useful method in this regard. So root locus method for the continuous time system can be extended to the discrete time system without much modification, since characteristic equation of the discrete control system is same form as the continuous time system. So this discrete time characteristic equation we already derived in the previous lectures, and we have to you can observe that this discrete time system characteristic equation is the similar to the continuous time control system. So we can consider or we are going to just apply the root locus method to analyze the absolute or relative stability or effect of the sampling time on the absolute and relative stability. So here many LTI discrete control systems characteristic equation can may have either the following terms. So we can see that this is the form. So some have the without any sampler before the plant. So we are getting 1 plus g of z into h of z is equal to 0. This is the similar to the continuous system. And this is the if we are there is a whole sampler and a whole circuit before the plant process, so we are getting the h g h of z. So you can see all the characteristic equation is the same as the continuous characteristic equation. When we are combining both, so this combination of the both the characteristic equation, so we can define a symbol term. So 1 plus Lz is equal to 0, because we are going to generalize the term. So some system have the characteristic equation is given like that, some system process characteristics have given like that. So we are taking a combination of these terms, so 1 plus Lz, so that is the represented by in equation 1. So we are going to apply the root locus method on this characteristic equation. So here Lz, it may be g of z into h of z, or it is the Lz of z. So Lz is properly known as the loop pulse transfer function. From equation 1 we can write in this one Lz is equal to -1. So Lz is a complex quantity. It can be split into two equations by equating angles and magnitude of both sides. So you know that in conventional control system there are two methods. One is the called as a angle condition, second is the magnitude condition. So we can compare, or we can, this is the Lz is a complex, so any complex can be represented in the angle form as well as magnitude form. So we can also analyze its stability. So this gives the angle and magnitude criteria. So here they have given the angle criteria, that is the angle of Lz is equal to 180 plus minus 180 degree to k plus 1, where k is the integer value, is varying from 0 to infinite. So here plus minus 180 degree. So here it have the poles or it have the 0. So based on polar 0 we can take the plus and minus. So magnitude criteria is mod of z is equal to 1. So same criteria, as you know in the already a study in the, I am assuming that you know about the angle criteria and magnitude criteria. So values of Z satisfy both the criteria on the root of the characteristic equation or closed loop poles, then we can say that the system is stable, or it is a relative stable or absolute stable. So before constructing the root locus, the characteristic equations L plus 1 plus L of Z is equal to 0 should be arranged in the following form. So we have to rearrange. So because this is a numerator and denominator part. So this L of Z numerator and denominator part we can write in this form 1 plus K. This is the Z1, Z2, Z up to Zm. This is the pole zeros locations. P1, P2 dot Pn. This is the poles location, where Zi is zeros and poles of the transfer function. M is the number of the zeros and for the number of the poles, where K is the gain of the transfer function. As you know that the root locus is analyze the stability of this plant when we are varying the gain of the system from 0 to infinity. So in conventional way, here also we are going to vary or find out the gain K and also sampling effect on the system stability. So here sampling stability, primary is the gain we are going to change. Then we can also find the effect on the sampling effect, because we have to convert the continuous plant into the discrete plant. So what are the constructional rules of a root locus in discrete domain? So we are just see that the same rules, all the rules are the same as previous. We already know about the root locus method, except the mapping is different, except the planes. In conventional root locus we are discussing in S plane. Here we are talking about in Z plane. So Z plane we have to consider, and in continuous domain we have to consider the S plane. So what are the rules? So you know that the first we have to calculate the root locus is a symmetric about the real axis, as it is. We know that number of root locus branches equal to number of the open loop poles, as it is true, similar to the one. And we can also calculate the root locus branches, means we can say that the asymptotes, root locus branches, we can find out the asymptotes, that is the number of poles minus number of zeros. So which is the open loop poles at k equal to 0 and ends at the open loop zeros at k equal to infinite. And in absence of the open loop zeros, locus tends to 0 to and when k tend to infinite. So means this root locus is start at the pole location and going to diverge or converge at the 0 location. If 0 is absent, then it's going to converge at the infinite times. So root locus always originate from the poles and going to converge at the zeros or infinity. So number of branches that tend to infinity is equal to difference between the number of poles and number of zeros. So that is the number of asymptotes we are calling in the conventional case. The third portion of the real axis will be a part of the root locus if the number of the poles plus number of zeros on the right hand portion is odd. Same process. Means if we can find which one is the region is feasible, where the root locus is going to originate or diverge or going to flow, so we can find a number of the poles plus number of the zeros. If this region means a particular region have the right number of poles plus number of zeros are odd, then this is the feasible region. If even, there is no feasible region. So this is also the same as the in conventional. If there are n open loop poles and m open loop zeros, then m minus 1 root locus branches and tends to infinity along the straight line asymptotes drawn from the. This is number of asymptotes. So number of asymptotes, you know that the n minus n. So number of the poles minus number of zeros, we can find the number of asymptotes. And I also called a centroid. How we are going to calculate the centroid? So because the number of asymptotes are going to intersect to each other at the real axis, that is the S is equal to sigma. That is called the centroid of the loci. So this can be calculated. Here the same empirical formula, that is the sigma is equal to real part of the open loop poles, means we have to take the summation of the all real part of the poles minus summation of the all real part of the zero divided by number of the poles minus number of zeros. So we are getting the real part, we can get a real part point intersection. So this is the centroid. This is also same as the conventional or incontinuous root locus method. Then now we come to the angle of asymptotes. So angle of asymptotes means these intersected, these asymptotes can be measured from the real axis. So real axis can be measured at phi q is equal to 180 2q plus 1 divided by n minus 1, n minus m. So number of asymptotes. So this is where q is the integer value varying from the 0 to 1, 3, 2, 3, then n minus m minus 1. So you know that this is the angles. They are taking the angles positive in anti-clockwise and negative in clockwise direction. So this is also same as that. Then now come to breakaway point. Breakaway point or breaking point. If there is a poles are there, then we have to find a breakaway point. So breakaway point or point of the multiple roots are the solution of the following equation. If there is a multiple roots are there, so these breakaway point may be intersected at the origin, at the imaginary axis. So we can find out dk by dz is equal to 0. So you already calculated the k terms. So you have to calculate the k is equal to something, a polynomial equation, and differentiate with respect to z and equate the 0. So you can find out the poles or roots of this equation. So if these roots give the information of the root locus is going to cut the imaginary axis, where k is expressed as a function of the z from the correct equation. This is necessary but not sufficient conditions. One has to check if the solution lies on the root locus or not. So you have to check these roots or these poles or this eigenvalues of this equations is going to satisfy or not. So that is the intersections. Intersections on the root locus with unit circle can be determined from the route array. So route array we have to calculate the route array, and using the route array, so we can calculate the it intersected or not. So intersection we can calculate. So angle of departure from the complex open poles is given. So breakaway point we have also calculated, and intersection of the root locus on the unit circle we already calculated using the route array. We have to apply the route array and find out the auxiliary characteristic equation and find the poles of this auxiliary equation, means the roots of the auxiliary equation, and this root equation give the information where it give we going to cut the unit circle. So angle of departure from the complex poles. So poles have the angle of departure and zeros have angle of arrival. So we have to just going to formulate. So phi p is equal to 180 degree plus phi, where phi is the net angle contributors of the all other open poles and zeros at type poles. So here phi we can calculate the summation of all the poles minus summation of all zeros. So particular when there is a complex poles and zeros are there, then it is we have to calculate the angle of arrival, angle of departure. Arrival for the zeros, departure for the poles. So for the departure we have to first calculate the poles. So from this angle we have to calculate all the poles angle and take the summation point, and again calculate the zeros and subtract. So you can calculate the phi and you can calculate the phi p. So an angle of arrival for the complex zeros, so 180 minus phi. So here phi is the same as the in previous case. So when we want to calculate the gain at any point z, so this is the nothing but k is equal to product of the all poles absolute values on this z. So what are the distance between this z naught to the all other poles? We have to product and divide by same for the zeros. So poles divided by zeros, so we are getting the gain. So means you can see there all the constructional rules are the same as the previous one, means continuous root locus method. Only the difference is that the plane. In that case, we are taking the plane is the S plane. Here we are taking the unit circle in Z domain. So you have to remember these rules. Now come to the, we are going to solve a example. So in this example, you can see that this is the A plant having the RT is input and there is a input. So here is the controller GD of S given in GDF. Then this is the discrete domain. Then zero hold order circuit, zero hold order H of S. H of S is transfer function is given. So 1 minus e to power minus ts by s. This is the whole order transfer function. Then this is the first order transfer plant I have taken for the simplicity. And here there is a unity feedback gain. So here the sampling time period we are consider 0.1 second. First we have to apply a hold circuit in this the plant. So GHOGP. So this is nothing but GHGP of Z. So here we have to multiply these two. These are the two are connected in cascade form. So you have to multiply and take the Z transform. When we are taking the Z transform, it converted into the Z inverse. So 1 minus Z inverse into Z divided by 1 by S plus 1. Apply the process fraction. When you take the Z transform, so we are getting this is the form of the Z transform. So this is the A net equation, that is we can write in the form like that, similar to the, this is the GHGP of Z, this one equation. And sampling time, you know that, put here the sampling time value, you can calculate that this one. So this is the all about the terms. So here we can retain all the terms. So after calculating this one, so now we have to calculate the overall control. So here they have given the integral controller. So integral controller already mentioned in the questions. They have given GD is equal to KZ by Z minus 1. So they have given GD value in discrete domain. So we have to apply the overall Z, GZ, GD into G of Z. So we have to multiply and find out the correct equation. So you know that the correct equation 1 plus G Z is equal to 0. So here, so when we multiply it, so this is the GZ. So we are getting the 1 plus GZ is equal to 0. So this is the overall loop. So in previous case, you can see that this is the plant. This one is GZ. And we are getting this one feedback. And here we are getting the summation and RT. So this is the overall feedback. So we are getting that in this form, correct equation similar to the continuous domain. So we are putting the G of Z. So we are getting this form. So we put the sampling time value. So overall we are getting the LZ is equal to this one. So this is the nothing but this is the equal to LZ. So LZ we are getting this form. So here the, you know that the poles, this gives the poles location. So here the poles at Z is equal to 1 and Z is equal to 0.65 and zeros at Z is equal to 0. So we can find a breakaway and breaking point are calculated. So here you can see the number of asymptotes. So here 2 poles, 1 0, there is 1 asymptotes are there. So we can calculate breakaway point. So you know that the breakaway point can calculate dk by dz, we can equate the 0. So when we are differentiating and equating the 0, we are getting the a poles is values. So z square this one. So z1 is equal to this value, z2 is equal to this value. So critical value of z can be found out the magnitude criteria. So magnitude criteria 1 by k, we are getting the magnitude criteria. So here gain, critical gains can be calculated at the point -1 we can calculate. So here k we are getting this value. So this is the, at this point we are getting this k value. So here you can see that this is the root locus. So these are the, at the origin, this point is the origin. Here there is a zeros, z is equal to 1, z is equal to 0. And other is z is equal to 1. So here we are getting the, and other is the z is equal to 0 point this value 6. So in this way, so we are getting, so this is the feasible region, in this there is a feasible region, and other is the This is the region, visual region. So here there is originating point, here is also originating point, there is a breakaway point. So breakaway point we can calculate. So summation of the real 1 and plus 0.5 and divided by 0 means 0 minus 0 divided by n minus 1. So we are getting the half value. So here this value is getting around 0.7. So we can get, this is the breakaway point. So is moving to like that. So it's going to originate and terminate at this point. So here we are also getting the breakaway point, because here they also breakaway point, here breakaway point. So it's going to in this way. So some routes are going to terminate at the poles and some poles are going to terminate at the infinity. So it is a symmetry with the real axis. So you can draw this one. So this is the unit circle. This one is the unit circle. So here they have given k value is given. From k shows the root locus of the system for k is equal to 0 to k is equal to 10. So two root locus branches starting from the two open poles at k is equal to 0. Here the root locus is started at k is equal to 0. We further increase k, one branch will go to the towards 0 and other will tends to infinity. Then further we have to increase the k, then it goes to terminate at this one, other is goes to terminate at the infinity. So that is represented by blue lines. So circle you with both the lines. So stable range we can already find out. So here lies between k 0 to 8.16. So using this equation we can obtain the root locus of the system. So same here they have given. So here the breakaway point they have calculated all the terms. So Kc critical gains were calculated when the sampling time is equal to 1 second. So here you can see that in previous case we are taking the sampling time 0.1 second and we are increasing the sampling time, so we are getting the this again going to reduce. So we are getting this for this case, this is the a root locus. So we can conclude that when k varying from 0 to 10, so we are getting the 8 point something. If we are increasing the sampling time 1 second, so we are getting the 4 point something. For the 2 second, so we are getting the 2.628. So in this way, so we can find out the straightforward, if we increase the sampling time, the stability of the system going to decrease. So means a stable region. If we are taking the sampling time a smaller value, we are getting a larger sampling means stability region. If we are increasing larger sampling time, so we are getting the smaller stability region. So a thumb rule is to sample 8 to 10 times during a cycle of the sample sinusoidal oscillation of the output, it is the under damped. If over damped, 8 to 10 times during rise time. So as seen from the examples, so you can see that the maximum allowable gain can be made larger by increasing sampling frequency per rate. So if increasing the frequency, so means time is going to decrease. So time is going to decrease, sampling time going to decrease, means we are getting the larger allowable system gains. So increased sampling time has an adverse effect on the steady state error as well as system stability. So this is a final conclusion of the effect of the sampling time period on the system stability. So we already discussed the root locus method in discrete domain, and we can found its constructional rules are the same as the conventional continuous root locus methods, and we also discussed the examples, and using this example we have also related the sampling effect on the time characteristics and stability. Thank you for the listening.